Welcome to this week's podcast. I brought on Jordan Youngblade. Jordan, welcome.
Hi, Heather. Thanks so much for having me on. I'm excited to be
Yes.
here.
Tell little listeners a little about yourself. Where do you live and what do you do?
So I live in Denver, same as you. And so mostly now, so I used to be a financial planner for 4 years and spent a lot of my days and time in the conversation of money. And over the last couple of years, the conversation started to shift a little bit more out of this strategy and into the mindset of money and the mindset of just life, and realizing a couple of years ago like how much my mindset was holding me back from the life that I really wanted to be living. And so when I started to shift those things for myself, I started to see my world really change, and I got passionate about moving that piece, and mostly from the perspective of money as like an entry gate for, what's really holding you back in the realm of money, and how you think and view and believe what you believe about money and how that holds you back. And then in turn, that's just kind of led to a lot of different opportunities with different companies. So I do have a coaching business with money, and then also partner up with a couple of different companies and that I share vision with and help them build and promote their businesses as well.
And I love how you talked about a shift in mindset. What does that mean for you? What happened?
Yeah. So, I came right out of college into financial planning and was running really hard, really fast. I've always had a really good work ethic and was just busting my butt really hard. And then I also started to see, like my career was like all my focus was on my career and my money and things like that. And then I started to see the rest of my life, pieces of my life, the pieces that I feel like were actually really important to me, dwindling as a result of like all of my focus going into my career, because I was getting a lot of validation through being a hard worker, that like I started to put relationships on the back burner. My health was deteriorating. Just things started to become red flags, and I had to take a pause and be like, what is going on? Because even though I was making all this money as a young person, like I didn't know where it was going. I didn't know why. And everything felt very out of control, and I didn't know why. So I started looking to solutions like how-tos and strategies and tactics. And none of that stuff was like, it would work for like a month and then it would fall off. And then, and it was in all all aspects of life. I was just trying to like plug holes, trying to fix my health, and then I realized like, maybe there's nothing to fix, and maybe it's just something like, there's some like piece of this that I'm missing. And it was really how I was viewing all of these different aspects of my life and the limiting beliefs that I had when it came to money, business, health, relationships. Like it was bleeding into all of those different things. And for me, it mostly boiled down to like this standard of like needing to conform. Like I thought I needed to conform to what everybody else was doing in order to be successful. And so that was my core limiting belief that I came to through a workshop that I did 2.5 years ago, that was really eye-opening. That was like, oh, I have a choice in what I believe, and I have a choice in how I'm seeing the world, and started just working from that place instead of trying to fix everything. And then everything else just started to be fixed. So it was from a lot of pain, honestly, a lot of my own personal pain.
So is what you're saying that money doesn't buy happiness and there's not one route to figure all this out?
Yeah, I think that that bubble got burst early for me.
Yeah.
I think just being in the financial realm too, I started to see, I was working with people that made and had millions of dollars and were still extremely unfulfilled. And I was like, wait, what? Like, I thought that that's what I was working so hard for, that like, oh, when I have money, then I'll be happy, or then I'll do the biggest one for me was when I have money, then I'll do something I'm passionate about. And that was like, oh no, like I do something I'm passionate about now. If I'm not passionate about this, like this isn't my career. And I don't have to build my life around this. And yeah, that was a big, that one in particular was a huge bubble burst for me to see it like not actually, like it's not a guarantee. And money actually isn't guarantee freedom either. And that's where like I saw people like chained to their money. They were like slaves to their jobs just to make this money to keep up with this lifestyle that they didn't even really like at the end of the day. So
Right.
like, ooh, I don't really want to do that. Yeah.
Well, and then you said that your health was deteriorating, and obviously you've gotten that back. And what I really want to hone in on is you've taken your health and fitness to a whole nother level.
Recently, yes.
Yes. So maybe, can you talk a little bit about this 3,000-mile bike ride you're training for?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and just to kind of bridge where my health was at before, I've always been I did a yoga teacher training about 7 years ago now. And I always knew that health was really important to me, but with that skewed mentality, I was really focused on how I looked and how I was being perceived and what other people thought of me. And that was my vehicle for health, or my perception of what health was at the time. And so over the past few years, just starting to shift that and being like, okay, it doesn't actually matter, like, because I saw I was doing all this stuff and I looked from an outsider's perspective, like I kind of had the body and everything, but my head, like maybe TMI, but like I was so like misaligned that I got scalp psoriasis all over my head, and like they couldn't figure out why or what it was from. It's an autoimmune disorder. And so most of autoimmune disorders are caused by stress. And I was putting so much stress on my body and my brain doing something I didn't love doing. And just like everything was out of whack. And so since like quitting my job and kind of restarting some stuff, I restored and just formed a really good relationship with health and fitness. And since then, like a bunch of opportunities have been opening up, like in the last couple of months, getting the opportunity to do the Race Across America with a nonprofit. And so there's 4 of us doing 3,000 miles. So it'll end up being about 700 to 800 miles each that we do over the course of anywhere from 6 to 9 days, depending on how long it takes. But I've realized how much my body is actually, like my body and my brain, how much they're connected. And I think for all of us, and when you're outside of your comfort zone and doing things that can be really scary, and with a mindset that serves you, it like propels your growth really quick. And then add a team in there and really ups your accountability and responsibility for what you signed up for. So,
but still, I mean, this race, to be riding 700 or 800 miles over a week span, and I just can't imagine. And what you've explained to me is, so aren't you in a van and like you guys are driving along while somebody's pedaling?
Yes. So there'll be, it's like a relay. It's on 24 hours a day. So yeah, depending on terrain and where we're at. So we go from Oceanside, California up to Maryland. And so, yeah, depending on where we're at, will determine like how long we're on the bike in each like cycle. So still working on the strategy from a team perspective, but yeah, it's pretty, I'm scared. I'm nervous, but like in a, like the best way possible.
So it's a mix of, clearly this is so much mindset, but also adrenaline. Thank heavens you have the accountability partners. But even then, I imagine your sleep is going to be not good.
Probably not. Yeah, in a van.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a van for a week. And yeah, I think we'll be gone for almost 15 days total, just from going and getting ready in California and then to the return home. I think it's anywhere from like 12 to 15 days that will be gone. So yeah, it will definitely be a big test of mind, body, spirit
And
for sure.
endurance, my gosh.
Whew. Yeah.
What are you hoping to gain from this entire experience, and especially the training months in advance to get to the race?
Yeah, I think my intention with it, because I've done triathlons and I've done other races, but nothing this intense. So my biggest intention with it is I think from a teamwork perspective, because I realized how much like I actually am a team person, and I've been a solopreneur for the last 2 years, and working with a team to accomplish a goal is actually probably the thing I'm most excited about, of like working towards a common goal and learning how to work with other people in a high stress, no sleep environment, because I believe, and we have people from each generation. So we have a 22-year-old, I'm the millennial, we have a Gen Y person, and then a baby boomer. And so also adding in all the elements, that's kind of the intention from the nonprofit, was because the nonprofit is called 4Gen now, and it's about creating cross collaboration amongst generations. And so that's kind of the intention of this race, and it's something that I've never done before. I've worked mostly in the realm of millennials over the last couple of years, and so adding in, it's just like so many cool different elements that I feel are only bound to create growth and learning about myself and what I'm good at, my strengths, my weaknesses, and just seeing that through the lens of like all of these different challenges. Because the physical is only probably one of 10 elements
Right.
that this will bring about that growth. So,
How have you trained yourself to embrace the challenges, physical, mental, whatever it may be, and rather than run from them, you embrace them and like you grow through what you go through? So how have you done that?
I'm not gonna lie, I almost backed out of this. My so my first initial response was a hell yes. Like my gut reaction was a hell yes. And then over that next week after I said it, I was like, oh my God, what did I just sign up for? Like I came back and was like, I need a week to process this and like really understand what it is that I'm committing to. And I was like this close to running away, like so close. And then I really sat with it, and I think that gut response is 99% accurate, like in anything we do. And like if you're really wanting to do something, it's embracing that fear that comes up and making friends with it, because that fear hasn't gone away, but all we can do is say yes to the things that light ourselves up and lean into it and take it day by day. Like it freaks me out to think about the full race still. Like I'm still scared of the whole race, but all I can do right now is take my training day by day and be committed to the daily process that it takes in order to get there. And I think that that's accurate in business too, of like something that you're really excited to do. And maybe you felt that when you started this podcast, or when you wrote your book, or anything like that, where it's like, oh my God, I'm scared because I've never done this before.
Right.
But then it's just breaking it down and overcoming the smaller little fear. It's like all the small fears that add up to the big fear. And so if you can just tackle one by one, and each of the little elements that come up can start to actually see that it's not as scary as we think it's going to be. And usually it's just rooted in some fear of judgment or shame or fear of success or failure, or there's so many different fears. And so when you can just see that it's just an emotion and not like something that's meant to stop you, you can just take it day by day, and it becomes a lot easier and more manageable than trying to think of the entire whole thing all at once.
And you nailed it on the head there, because I think that's what happens, that we see the big picture and we get so overwhelmed with holy shit. And if we could just step back and be like, and trust the process and have faith that if I can just do today and the next day and the next, I will get to the end result. But you're right. You have to piece it out. You can't, yeah.
Try to do it all at once. Yeah. And having like faith in yourself, that like those things that you, faith in yourself and trust in yourself, that like, you know what, there's going to be roadblocks that come up. There's going to be challenges. There's going to be things, mental, physical, emotional, psychological, that are going to be in the pathway. But knowing that like each day that you overcome and like continue to surpass those little roadblocks, that you just become the best version of yourself in that process. And I think that that's the most exciting piece of it. Yeah. Like, if you like who you see at the end of the road, if you're like, that's the person I really want to become, then it makes embracing the process a little easier, even though not always easy.
Yeah. And I'm definitely all about embracing that discomfort. And what you talked about, feeling the fear, or the pit in the stomach, however it comes for different people, right? But I've learned that when I get that, oh shit, in my stomach, I use it as adrenaline to push forward. When I get that feeling, I'm like, yes, I'm doing the right thing, then this is the time to go.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think we don't like, especially, you know, I don't know where all of your listeners are at in their lives and their careers and their relationships and everything, but we don't put ourselves into those positions all that often. But the more that you do, the more exciting it gets, and the more fun life gets, because you're putting yourself in the position to become who you were created to become. And we weren't just created to like sit back and let life just kind of happen and haphazardly go through the motions. Mm-hmm. And honestly, that gets boring. And sometimes like that stagnant feeling is because we're not putting ourselves in the position to like use that fear as a source of drive.
Yes. So good. Jordan, I wish you luck on your training and on completing that race. It's going to be amazing.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll keep you posted on how it goes.
Well, and I'd like to wrap this up. I have a couple rapid fire questions for you. So whatever comes to mind, just go with it.
Okay.
What is a quote or motto that you live by?
A quote or motto that I live by. I think just one that is so important to me, but especially when I get wrapped up in that fear, is that you are not your thoughts and feelings. You are the observer of your thoughts and feelings. And those words just like help me pull out a little bit and have more perspective because I'm an overthinker by nature. And so like when I start to overthink and when I start to get that analysis paralysis and freak out fear, it's just like, this is all, I'm just creating this all in my head. So how do I want to create this?
Love it. What is a book you're currently reading or highly recommend?
A book I highly recommend is called The Soul of Money, that I just read actually for a book club. It's a woman, her name is Lynn Twist, and she is phenomenal, and it's so much more than money. It's like about really creating a life that you love, and how much scarcity mentality is driven into our culture and how to start shifting that. And it's not like numbers or anything like that. It's very like conceptual. And I think it's a good place for anybody that's like having fear around money. I mean, I think we all have fear around money to some extent if you haven't done a lot of work on it. That one's awesome. It's like really changed a lot in my life.
I wrote that down. I will definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And last question for you. What is the best advice you've ever received?
Best advice I've ever received. I think it have to boil down to trusting yourself and following your heart. I didn't really understand that for a while when I was very like disconnected emotionally for a long time. So I didn't know what my heart wanted, but I had little glimpses of it, but I didn't trust it. And I would just be like, oh no, that's just silly. That's done. But like come to find that those were all the things that like I felt called to in this life. And so trusting what your heart and your gut are telling you and take action on it, even if it scares the hell out of you.
That is a great note to end on. Jordan, thank you so much for joining and sharing your story.
Thank you so much for having me.